Hello and welcome to the Strong Workforce Program 21-22 NOVA Module Walkthrough. I'll be your host today, Alejandro Sandoval. I'm the Program Manager for the Strong Workforce Program, primarily statewide, but as well for the Bay Region, Area 2, and Central Valley Mother Lode. Today, I will be walking through the new updates in NOVA for the Strong Workforce Program for the 2021-22 planning year, as well as showing you how to properly plan your allocation dollars in your work plan, your budget, and some cool tips and tricks that will help you when it's getting reviewed by your monitor. As you can see here, I'm in the Sandbox NOVA environment, which is a mirror of the production of the NOVA system. And anything I do in here in Sandbox will not affect the production of NOVA, which is the main system of NOVA. If you see that I'm using your college for a plan, please do not be alarmed. As I mentioned, I am just using this as a showcase, and it will not affect your data inside the actual NOVA system. So you go to NOVA just as usual. If you do not have a NOVA account, please go to Request Access to NOVA, and you will get a form where you can request access, letting us know your title, your college, what kind of permissions you need, and then that will get approved by our helpful help desk staff. I'm going to go ahead and log in. You will see that after logging in, you get to the NOVA help page. Looks like it went to a prior page that I was already on, but when you first log in, you'll go to, this will be the page you'll see on fresh login. These are your bookmarks that you can use to bookmark a plan from different funds that you have permissions to. Since today we're talking about the Strong Workforce local share and regional share, and using this local share as a walkthrough where they are very similar with minor differences, we will go into programs, go to Strong Workforce Program Local, Plans, and you'll come to the plan dashboard here for the local share plans. You'll notice the ID. If you know the plan ID, you can directly type it and visit that plan, the title, your institution, region, funding year, and the status. You can also save or filter settings. Because we're showing you 2021-22 planning in this training, we're going to go ahead and select Create New Plan. It is going to be a SWP 2.0 plan. As you recall, SWP 1.0 plans are from the first 4-year round cycle. So here it prompts you when you're creating a new plan. Do you mean continue an existing plan? And for this instance, we're not. We're creating a new plan against a new allocation for 21-22. For those of you that have been with the Strong Workforce Program since its inception, we have moved away from first in, first out. So you are planning these plans, projects, against your new allocation for the 2021-22 school year. Here you'll enter the plan details. You have the plan title. You can use something such as ECUW HVAC project, something unique for you as an identifier for your school. The region where this plan is going to be being worked from, where this school you're from, region you're at, what lead institution is on this project, so your college or district, the funding year for this plan, which would be 21-22, the Strong Workforce Program beginning with 2021, you get 24 months to expend dollars, so you can plan for 1 fiscal year or 2 fiscal years. We're going to go ahead and plan for 2 fiscal years, and you see here it asks you include short-term credit, non-credit, and not-for-credit workforce training in this plan. If you say yes, when you say yes, you'll have another tab pop up in the plan for you to identify specifically whether it's short-term, non-credit, and not-for-credit, and how you'll be incorporating that into the plan. If you click no, then it won't show up anything else, and you'll continue on as a regular Strong Workforce Program plan. So I'm gonna go ahead and click yes. You'll see that I'm missing a couple steps. So I wanted to showcase that if you do not fill out the forms completely, you will not be able to progress. Lead institution, let's use Berkeley, CCD. Okay. Oops. Okay, so you got to choose the region within the work is going to be done first. Let's say basket weaving for the plan title. So don't do this as I did this now. You need to start from the top to the bottom. Choose the region, then the institution, and then you'll see exactly where you need to go. So now we can continue and create new plan. Now you see we have the workflow here on the left side. We have details, employer partners, contacts, LMI, metrics, work plan objectives, work plan activities, budget, forecast, success story, and then preview and submit. You can jump in between these and add information as necessary, but we suggest that you begin at the beginning of the workflow. You'll see that the information you already entered has already been populated. Plan title, basket weaving. The funding year for this plan is from 21-22. It's going to span 2 fiscal years. And then my lead institution I selected was Berkeley City College. You notice here that I mentioned that when you click yes, a new tab is going to pop up. And you see that employer partners pops up in the workflow. If you change that to no, employer partners goes away. But you keep it at yes, you'll have employer partners, and you'll be able to let us know which type of training is going to be offered, and then adding those employer partners as necessary. You can see it's optional. I will not be filling out the application as a full plan, but I'll just be walking through the different steps and flows, as well as identifying the new features for 21-22 that we made and added to make sure this process is way smoother for everybody. First one of those is now you can see whether this plan is going to support an apprenticeship program. And you can select if this plan is going to provide financial support for the apprenticeship program, or if it's not going to provide financial support for the apprenticeship program. You will add your plan rationale, how many students will experience a positive impact from this plan. Explain how you came up with the number and how students will be positively impacted. What needs motivate this project? What are the risks of this project? And the tips here, please make sure that you have complete sentences, as well as providing detailed explanation of the impacts, what needs the project what needs motivate the project, and the risks of the project. A lot of times when we review these plans and they get rejected on the first round, it's severely mistyped where the monitor can't really make or understand what the project is aiming towards. So please be sure that you're having the grammar and the spelling, as well as complete sentences, and just assume that somebody's going to be reading this, which we are, and we need to get an idea of how the money is going to be spent and how these outcomes are going to be accomplished for our students. As we move forward, you see work-based learning models and programs is new. And we have a question, does this plan include a work-based learning component? It is mandatory. So if it is, you'll need to select whether it's a cloud computing sector impacted by Los Angeles and Long Beach ports for zero emissions by 2035, or the supply chain management sector, or neither. This is new for the 21-22 fiscal year, as you see that this was added to the trailer bill language this year. If it doesn't include a component, you'll see that the field no longer becomes required. So let's say that it does, and this is a project that is one of the sectors impacted by Los Angeles and Long Beach's port's goal for zero emissions by 2035. We have the usual disproportionately impacted groups, the DI groups this plan targets. You can select the age group, first generation students, foster youth. And then we always make sure you have to read through these assurances. So the Strong Workforce Program legislation, that it meets the intention and the requirements of the SWP legislation, that it's informed by labor market information and regional priorities, that you are supplementing, not supplanting dollars in these projects. That is called out in the legislation. You must supplement, not supplant. That you read and agree to the Student Success Metrics Agreement, and that you certify that this plan complies with all Strong Workforce Program funding guidelines. As well as you certify and confirm that the statements made in this plan about how the funds will be used, and that you accept the documentation that will be required as part of reporting. Once you click through that, you can go to next. You can enter the workforce training employer partners information, since we chose that this was going to be a plan that offered non-credit options for credit or not for credit. And here you'd enter that information. Please let us know which one of these three that this plan is going to be working towards, and have complete sentences on the type of training that is going to be offered for that option. As I mentioned, you can choose employer partners. It is optional, but I would recommend that if you do have an employer partner for this plan, that you please enter the employer partner. And that's by just clicking this plus sign here, add employer partner, and then you can start entering the partner name. If an existing employer partner is in this list, you can just select them. If not, you can create a new one. As we move along, we see that you can add contacts to the plan. We have the project lead contact is automatically created once the person creates a plan. In this instance, I created this project, Alejandro Sandoval, so I'm the project lead contact, but you can add additional contacts. The requirement is that you have at least one contact per the project and one institutional project fiscal reporter from your business office. But you can have more contacts as necessary if this is a project or plan that multiple people are going to be working on. As you see that the approving authority has now changed for local projects, it is no longer necessarily the signing authority at your college. It is now a district signing authority. The reason here is that these dollars are allocated directly to the district from the chancellor's office through the apportionment system. And so we see that the district are the ones obligated to ensure that these projects from the colleges are being entered and expended properly, as well as the coordination with the regional fund monitor, who you'll see here, since this is a Bay Area project, we co-monitor, Cynthia and I. After you add the contact information, you'll go to the LMI section. The new update here is that you have to automatically add a program to a project, and this plan has to have a program for it. You can, or multiple programs if it has multiple sectors in this program. But you can no longer just continue on without having selected any programs. This was a bug, but it's now been fixed. You can select the name of the occupational cluster. For example, if the occupational cluster addresses RN programs, you can name the cluster RN or nursing. And then you can select the occupations that come from ONET online using the standard occupational stock codes. You are able to do multiple programs if this is a program that is going to span multiple sectors. The other iteration for this 21-22 plan is that if you select provide supply and demand from your supporting evidence, which is mandatory as well, you need to enter the total demand, total supply, and other supply, as well as it's now mandatory to upload the document showcasing where you got these numbers for the total demand, total supply, and demand supply. The tip I would like to add here to make everybody's lives a little easier is that when you are working on a plan, you go ahead and add the supporting evidence. You select the document type. So let's say It's LMI library reports data. In the comments section, please let us know where you actually are pulling the data from. In many instances, we've seen 200-page documents uploaded per plan, and it's near impossible for your monitors to see through all that data and find the specific data piece that you're using for this plan. So please let us know the page number as well as a little bit of information of the data that you're using as supporting evidence. Once you enter the supporting evidence in the LMI data, as well as the program and the occupational clusters, you move along and go to the metrics section. Here you'll come up with their investment plan, which will describe the investments you're going to make and how these will result in improved performance in the metrics below. You have the option of selecting the Strong Workforce Program metrics who have been aligned to the Vision for Success goals. If you're going to select completion, then you select completion for meeting change in earnings and transfer as a goal. And with transfer, you'd be choosing Strong Workforce Program students in general. You'll see here on the bottom where your selection from the above metrics gets pre-populated already. This is the data from Launchboard. So in prior iterations of the NOVA system, you would have to go to Launchboard and enter the actual program and get the information there. And now we use the API from NOVA to Launchboard and can pull this information for you. When we have the actuals, you're able to plan with targets. We want to make sure that you are planning properly. Maybe not something super motivational that is going to be a pie in the sky number, but something that's more of a realistic goal that you can attain within that target year. So once we complete our metrics, we're going to move on to work plan objectives. The main priority for the work plan here is to show us what kind of project that this plan is going to be working towards and what objective and objective type you're going to be implementing towards the outcome of that plan. So we ask for the objective name and the objective type. And this is the new piece that you'll see here for 21-22. Now you have the option of having the objective type for developing a new program to address acute market need, developing a new program to address ongoing market need, improve career readiness and job placement, increase enrollment of existing programs, or increase quality of existing programs. So based on the objective, you're going to select one of these objective types. Then you're going to describe the objective. Here we have the helper text, which gives you an idea of what kind of description we're looking for. It should be quantifiable and measurable. For example, you're going to bridge the supply-demand gap of 500 workers, or industry priority for workers with social work experience, faculty professional development, and pedagogy, etc. As I mentioned earlier, please have full, complete sentences and be very descriptive so that we know the actual outcome of this objective as part of your plan. Additionally, we ask that you address how the objective is aligned to the regional strategy plan that your consortium and yourself and your region have put together. And then describe how it's in alignment with one of the strategy sectors and regional priorities based off of that plan. For all of these, you have 3,500 characters. And I do want to add that the error stepper is still available. So it will show you what you still need to fill out that's required as you go through the NOVA application. Once you've added all your objectives, you need to describe the activities. You give us the activity name. Once you have entered the objective, it would populate here dynamically, and you'd be able to select the activity towards that objective. So what you enter here, so objective type, develop new program to address ongoing market need. The objective name that you choose here is going to dynamically populate as the objective. So once you've entered your work plan objectives, you can go ahead and move on to work plan activities. What you entered as a work plan objective is going to dynamically populate here, and you're going to be able to select the objective that the activity applies to. You can enter the activity name that you created for this activity, the brief description of the activity, the proposed completion date. You get to select the metric that this activity relates to, the regional priority sectors, and the responsible person and dependencies. So these are all similar to what we had in 2021. The only difference that you'll see here is that instead of having the drop-down sectors and the ability of across all sectors, you now have to break out, if you're doing multiple sectors, by percent of the activity of that sector. So for example, 20% of this activity is towards influencing advanced manufacturing. If it's multiple sectors, you would add another sector, agriculture, water, and environmental technologies. Say that 80% of this activity towards that objective is going to influence agriculture, water, and environmental technologies. As you saw, it has to add up to 100%, and we've actually have a cap on the amount of sectors. The max that you can select is 5. As I mentioned, the across all sectors has been removed. Other, please make sure that other is reserved for new and emerging sectors, not necessarily something that would be previously branded as across all programs. That if it's across all sectors and it's not selected amongst the 5 sectors, up to the 5 sectors, and other is used, that is likely to be rejected as a plan. We move on and go to the budget. Here, you're going to add your budget item for each fiscal year. We said it's going to span 2 fiscal years, 2021, 2022. You click add budget item. You can select those specific expenditure types. So 1,000 instructional salaries. You actually get to select the activity that you entered, that as it relates to the expenditure type, the budget amount, whether it's one-time or ongoing, and then a brief description of the expenditure. Please be very mindful of what's entered in the description to give the monitor a good idea of what is actually being expended in that category. As you enter all the different budget types for your budgets for the fiscal year, you're going to complete, and you have the ability to use copy from previous year and then move on to the forecast. Because we don't have a budget here, nothing's going to show up for the forecast, but the forecast essentially allows you to give yourself an idea of where your expenditure rate is by setting expenditure goals. The success story is optional, but if this is a program that you're going with 21-22 and you've already seen success with this program and this plan, you're more than you're more than welcome to add into this. Put a title, follow up contact persons, challenge, success story, and outcomes. Once you've entered all your information in the plan, you will see a summary of all the data from that plan. And this summary is exactly what the monitor sees on our end at the Chancellor's office. So please be, as I mentioned, please be very descriptive in your narratives. You're still allowed to share to a recipient. And share that plan with your colleagues before you submit the plan. I want to thank you for sitting through this training. As always, we are available to help with any technical assistance. If you have NOVA specific issues, please go ahead and go to the bottom left corner and click help. and submit a support request. If you have a specific policy issue or specific question that's not related to NOVA, please reach out to your program monitor. You can find your program monitor, on the Strong Workforce Program website. If you do not know your monitor, you can email us at strongworkforcehelpdesk@ccco.edu. Again, the email is strongworkforcehelpdesk@ccco.edu. Thank you so much for taking the time and seeing the new updates in the NOVA system. We hope that these new updates will make your planning process and expenditure process simpler for you at your college. And we look forward to our continued success in helping our students.